What is up? Welcome back to the Sam Navejas podcast. Today we'll be talking about my Week 10 pick'ems for the NFL games on Sunday. We started off 0-1. I had the Panthers winning last night. Fortunately, it was a very boring and horrible game last night, and the Bears ended up winning that one. That game doesn't really matter because the Bears get the Panthers pick either way. But here are the rest of my picks for Week 10. Next, we're going to talk about some UFC fights and some news and what could happen after those fights. What could be kind of like the storyline after the recent fights had just dropped by Dana White. And of course, my predictions and breakdown for UFC 295 of the main card only. I'm here for it. Let's get started with it. First, we're going to go with our Week 10 picks. First game I got right here is the Colts versus the Patriots. I'm going to go with the Colts here with the Gardner Minshew game. You know, Patriots haven't been so good this season. It's kind of an easy pick right here. I'm going with the Colts. Ravens versus Browns. This is a huge division game right here, but I'm going with my MVP so far in the league, Lamar Jackson, to get a win and take a bigger lead in the division and solidify the Ravens as the best team in the AFC, possibly in the NFL. I mean, they've just been balling out, and I don't see them slowing down. Texans versus Bengals. Bengals did lose T. Higgins, I think, with a hamstring injury. Does not look good for them, but I got them getting upsetted by the Houston Texans with C.J. Stroud continuing to be on fire. I think this is going to be a huge shutout between the Texans and the Bengals. It's going to be close, but I got the Texans winning at the end of it. 49ers versus Jaguars. Huge game right here. Huge game for each of these teams to continue and try to make a playoff push to see. I think the 49ers are right behind their second place in their division behind the Seahawks, and with a loss that can push them back a lot. 49ers versus Jags. I have the Jaguars here. They've just been on fire. I think they're all like on a 5 or 6 game win streak. I mean you can't argue with that. They're on fire. 49ers secondary has been looking pretty shallow, not too good. Saints versus Vikings. I'm bought in on Josh Dobbs. If Josh Dobbs is on that field, hey, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, what can stop them? The Saints defense is pretty good, but I'm going with Josh Dobbs. Hopefully he can do it again. And I got Josh Dobbs leading this Vikings team with back-to-back wins. And the next game, Packers versus Steelers. Here, I got a Jordan Love game bounce back. He has not been looking good at all this season. But I'm going with the comeback or with the bounce back win and the Steelers getting upsetted by the Packers. Next, we got the Titans versus the Bucks. The Bucks had a bad loss after the Texans came back and C.J. Stroud was just all world. And then the Titans, they looked amazing one week with Levis, and then they didn't look too good on, I think it was like a Thursday night or Monday Night Football. But here I have the Titans losing to the Bucks with the Baker Mayfield game. Bounce back win after he had a greater performance last week, but this week he gets the dub. Falcons versus the Cardinals here. I think it's going to be Taylor Heineke starting this game. Here I have the Falcons ruining Kyler Murray's return for the season debut after the torn ACL. I just think it's going to take Kyler Murray just to kind of work back into it. I want to see how he looks and to see where the Cardinals move on because they're most likely going to get a top pick unless they somehow win the rest of the season, which is kind of a big stretch. Next game right here, Lions versus Chargers. Big playoff since it was here, at least for the Chargers. Lions are winning their division pretty easily. Chargers, they desperately need this win after beating the Jets, but here I'm going with the Lions. I'm predicting a big Sam Laporta game here versus the Chargers. Cowboys versus Giants. I'm going with the Cowboys. Unfortunately, what happened to Daniel Jones tearing his ACL, but I just have a comeback win with the win after a loss of the Cowboys winning against the Giants. Washington versus Seattle. I have the Seattle Seahawks. Washington they got rid of Montez Sweat, I believe that was his name, and they got rid of him. Defense is not going to look so good, and I got the Seahawks bouncing back after a horrible loss to the Ravens last week. Seahawks win over the Washington Commanders. Jets versus Raiders. And I can tell you this. These primetime games are awful. They are god-awful. Thursday night we had the Bears versus the Panthers. That's just, if That's just if the Bears are going to get the first overall pick for their pick, or if they're going to get the first overall pick from the Panthers pick, and it's looking more like the Panthers pick. And then we have the Jets versus the Raiders, which I guess was supposed to be Jimmy Garoppolo versus Aaron Rodgers, but that's not happening. But I'm going with the Jets either way. The defense is too good. Hopefully Zach Wilson can just do something on offense, at least something. Broncos versus Bills. I think this will be a better game than what it looks like, but I got the Bills winning. They desperately need this win because going with back-to-back losses, they would probably fall out of the playoff picture almost completely at that point. And that's on Monday Night Football, of course. Now, let's get to these fights that had just dropped in the UFC. UFC 297, we got Sean Strickland versus Dricus Du Plessis. I believe this is in Toronto, Canada. And there is the Women's Bantamweight Championship also, I believe, as the co-main event of this, as in this card. I can't remember who it is. It's completely going over my head. So I'm not really too excited for that. Hopefully they can fill out the rest of this card. I don't know what would be next if Sean Strickland wins. I would see probably a Khamzat Chimaev. I don't know if they would want him to fight one more person, but I would say either Khamzat or I don't really know who's next. I know Jared Cannonier pulled out because he got hurt and now he's having to go into surgery. I don't know what's going on with Robert Whittaker, and I think it's most likely it's looking like Khamzat if Dricus Du Plessis lose, if Sean Strickland wins. But if Dricus Du Plessis, of course, you're going to have the rematch. And I think that can push an Israel Adesanya fight versus Dricus Du Plessis. But I don't know if you would have Israel fight one more time. I mean, he's not doing the rematch. So that might give him the fight versus Dricus since they do have that beef there. But I would be down for Israel Adesanya versus Khamzat Chimaev for the number one contender fight to fight Dricus Du Plessis or Sean Strickland. I'm here for that. And of course, next fight that was announced, Alexander Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria, and I'm really excited for this. I want to see how the rest of these cards really play out because I think that's going to be a huge factor. I'm a little worried about Alexander Volkanovski since he just fought like a few weeks ago, and this fight would be in February. I'm glad it's not in January, but February gives him a little more time to recover and hopefully get a full camp, fully heal. I think he could, run through Ilia. I hope Ilia can make it a fight because Volk has just been unworldly, but hopefully this loss doesn't really trinkle and really mess with his losses with everybody else. But I mean, this happened last time. He lost to Islam, which I thought he won the first fight, and then just went and dominated with, oh my goodness, what's his name? I can't remember his name. Yair Rodriguez, and he just dominated him in that fight, which this could be another situation here. And I don't mind Alexander Volkanovski taking this fight in February because it's either I fight this guy in February or I don't fight, and they do an interim belt of Max Holloway versus Ilia, and Max Holloway just beats another contender that I could have made money off of, and then that would be another fight of Max Holloway and Alexander Volkanovski. And at that point, I don't know if you can even sell a fourth fight at that point. And that's my big question here. What is going to go with Max? Is he going to move up? Or is he going to stay there? Because I've seen some stuff that was in the works. I don't know how it is, where it's at now, but that it was a Aljamain Sterling versus Max Holloway. I guess to see where he was at, because Max Holloway is the number one contender. And I mean, you don't go through the division unless you have to jump him like Ilia. Nobody else goes to Volk unless you go through Max, or you just have to jump him. And I don't know when we're going to see Brian Ortega back, and when we're going to see Yair back from the fight that he lost when he lost the belt. There's a lot of good fighters that need to fight. I know Song Yadong had December 3rd or December 6th. He's going to be fighting. I can't wait for that. Song Yadong might be another weight class. I'm sorry about that. But it's just so many fights, so many fighters that have not even been booked that we haven't seen in a while, that hopefully they could fill out the rest of these cards and make them amazing. UFC 299. This is huge right here. We have Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Chito Vera. This is the second fight, of course, and these guys are gonna sell the fight. They already had a face-off in New York, and it's gonna be huge. These guys are gonna talk their mess. They're gonna talk, Sean O'Malley's gonna do all these antics probably. He's the champ. He wanted this fight. But the big thing here that's gonna sell it even more is that the co-main event, I believe, is Henry Cejudo versus Merab. Two guys that probably should have gotten a title fight over. Or I think Merab, who probably should have got a title fight over Chito Vera, which a little controversy there, but it is what it is for Merab. He didn't take the fights when Aljamain was the champ, so there is that too, a little punishment for that, and I'm excited for that. I wonder how the rest of those cards fill out, but I think with these fights here, Strickland in 97, Volkan 98, O'Malley in 99 for UFC 300, this could possibly set up Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler for UFC 300, and I am here for it. This is probably the perfect setup. Not only are you gonna get you're gonna get a Conor McGregor return, you stacked it on UFC 300. I mean, pay-per-views are gonna be through the roof. Everybody's gonna be watching that fight. I mean, that's what at least I hope that it would turn out to. I would have wanted Sean O'Malley, maybe, to be the co-main. I made a video a long time ago about that, that I made think I would call it the Notorious Sugar Show, where it was this fight, Chito versus O'Malley, at UFC 300 as the co-main, and of course Conor McGregor, Michael Chandler as the main event for UFC 300. But it is what it is at the end of the day. Sugar Sean O'Malley gets all the pay-per-view points to himself. UFC 299, I'm hoping for UFC 300, Michael Chandler versus Conor McGregor. But now, let's get to what we all came for. UFC 295, I'm going to slowly kind of break down, what I think and who I think is going to win. At the end of the day, I am not a professional. I mean, what we do here is we talk sports, and you watch me talk sports to myself, to you guys, if that makes any sense. Of course, for the main event, Yuri Prochazka versus Alex Pereira. For here, I'm going with Alex Pereira. I've really been tossing and turning, jumping back and forth about this decision, but this is kind of a revenge fight for Alex Pereira to avenge, I guess, Glover Teixeira for losing the fight that he probably should have won, that he would have won if he didn't go for that guillotine in the first minute of that fifth round. In that fight versus Yuri. I rewatched that fight, and it was real back and forth, but I think to a certain point, Glover was easily going to win that fight, towards the end of it, but made that mistake, and it costed him the belt. And a few things that Alex cannot do here. He has a tendency of, when he has his opponent hurt, he's throwing, and that's how he got caught by Israel Adesanya. He's leaving his hands up, he forgets to play the defense, and he gets hit, and that's how he got knocked out right there. He takes a few shots, but the big thing here is takedown defense. How good is it going to be? And to flip it on Yuri, to talk about Yuri now, how much wrestling you're going to do, because this is this guy's weak spot. You kept up with Glover, who's probably the best jiu-jitsu guy in that division, and to hold up with him and then to submit him, that's just insane. But I just think that he's not going to do it. He's going to want to throw down with him. They're just two big, not egos, but two warriors, spiritual warrior guys face to face, and they're going to want to go to war. And one thing that Yuri Prochazka does, he fights southpaw, and he fights at a super, super wide stance. Glover didn't really take advantage of it, but he showed that, that it was there. And Yuri Prochazka keeps his front foot way forward in his stance, and Alex Pereira is just going to kick that all day long. And Israel Adesanya said that he's probably one of the best at doing that, because you have no idea when it's coming through, and he's just going to kick it all night long. He did that to Jan, and with the Jan fight, Jan Blachowicz, Alex Pereira was able to kind of stay alive in the wrestling. The first round, it looked like it was going to be done, but he was able to hold up himself. Blachowicz did get tired. He took advantage of that, and he jumped on that. And it was a real close fight. I don't know how people would you think of who really won that fight, but I think Pereira, it was the right decision. Pereira won, but it was by, it was pretty close. It was a pretty close fight. But main thing here, who's gonna take the risk? Who is gonna be the one to take that chance to go for that knockout? Because both of these guys are really high risk fighters, and that's how that's why they're both entertaining, and that's why they're both fan favorites, because they're gonna take the risk. They're both gonna go for the flying knee. They both have that that knockout power. But Yuri Prochazka, same thing. He tends to, not even when his defender, not even when his opponent is hurt, he just tends to just keep his hands down sometimes. When he's when he's striking, he forgets to kind of put his hands back up. And Glover caught him a few times, and if that's Alex Pereira, he's gonna throw a knee at you, or he's gonna throw that left hook, and it's lights out right there, and new right there. But who's gonna take the risk, and most importantly, who's gonna make the mistake, and how are they gonna take advantage of that right away? And here, that's why I got Alex Pereira here. I do not think this fight goes all 5 rounds. I think Alex Pereira wins by a KO, TKO fight right here. Either way, I think if either Yuri wins or Alex wins, it's both going to end in a KO, TKO, because these two guys here are just too explosive, it's going to be a war. I think it could be, it could be a stretch, but I think it could live up and be similar, but actually end in a, someone getting knocked out, like a Michael Chandler, Justin Gaethje fight, which that fight was amazing. I think it could kind of live up to that, bloodiness, that warriors of them just going back and forth. I think that's what it's going to be. And most likely, it's mostly up to Yuri. If I had to take a chance of how many, like an over and under, how many takedowns, and they told me 2, I'm smashing that under on, takedown attempts. Unless, Yuri just decides to turn into a Khabib, Yuri Nurmagomedov or something like that, and just decides to go wrestling full time. Besides that, I don't really see anybody going for a takedown this fight, unless, I think at all. I think if someone hits the floor, they're going to jump on top of them just to ground and pound. But here, the new light heavyweight champion of the world, Alex Pereira, that's who I got for the main event. Co-main event was a short notice fight. Jon Jones, hopefully you get well soon. Shoulder, didn't look too good of a video, or his shoulder, he messed up his shoulder. But here, anyways, we got Sergey Pavlovich versus Tom Aspinall, and nice fight for both of them. But Pavlovich was training for this fight. He was training for Jon Jones or Stipe. He was the backup fight, so that's why I got a little bit more confidence in him, and that's who I do have winning. I have more confidence in him. He's training for either one of them, and he's ready. I know Tom Aspinall was working out, but he wasn't ready for a fight. He wasn't ready game planning and stuff. I know that that Pavlovich was not fighting and scheming for Aspinall, but he was still fighting. He was still preparing for 2 of two of the greatest heavyweights of all time, or one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, and one of the greatest of all time. And I think that helps him a lot. But here, at the end of the day, where I think of it, there's probably no reason to overanalyze this fight, because at the end of the day, it is two heavyweights that have not been past. I think Tom Aspinall has not been past like halfway through the second round, and then Pavlovich, who has not been past the first round. At the end of the day, this is not going to go 5 rounds. This might not even go 3. This might end in 1 to crown a vacant, which I don't like, a vacant world heavyweight champion, and that's going to be Sergey Pavlovich for me. I don't know if it's done in 1. I hope it's done in 1, because Sergey is a monster. He's got some nasty boxing to him. I saw a lot of old videos, but I saw a lot of breakdowns, especially the Henry Cejudo ones. He really broke down how Sergey likes to throw his jab, but also just throw his head to the side to kind of throw the lining off his opponent, so they can't just throw a straight shot back at him. He just throws and then throws his head to the side. It's just, that's just years of great boxing right there. But also, Sergey Pavlovich is not afraid to take a hit to get the hit that he wants, and he seems like he's got a hit on him. Tom Aspinall, of course, is a powerful man, but I've seen, Sergey walk down Derek Lewis, walk down Curtis Blades, walk down, I think he fought Chris Dukas. I don't know if he fought him, but just pretty much walked down everybody that he has fought. And how can you not pick him? I know everybody's picking Aspinall, and I think Aspinall might be the favorite, but I'm going with Sergey here because he is such a monster. I know they're both on fire, but Sergey's on another level right now, and that's who I have winning the vacant World Heavyweight Championship in the UFC. Next fight we have after that, or before that, is Mackenzie Dern versus Jessica Andrade. This is Jessica Andrade's 5th fight this year. Her 5th fight, which is insane, but she's going off 3 losses. She lost to Blanchfield, she lost to Jan, who she got KO'd by, and then she got who absolutely dominated by Tatiana Suarez. And I have Mackenzie Dern winning. 3 losses in a row. I think this could be 4. 5 fights in a year is just nuts. I don't think she's giving herself much time to recover. I don't know what she's doing. She might be trying to fight out her contract and go to PFL or I don't know what she's trying to do. Or maybe she just wants to stay active and just try to go to get that belt. Because I know she moved up because, her going to, I think 115, I believe that was the weight, and she's at 125 now. I think it was just too small of a weight class for her, but her moving up, and it shows that she is not adjusting too well. I could see this be the fight that she adjusts, but Mackenzie Dern is coming off a win, but her fight before was also a loss to Jan, and this weight class does have a lot of questions. Who does Weili Zhang's? Who is she gonna fight? Because Mackenzie Dern has an opportunity to win, or she has an opportunity to, how do I say this? She has an opportunity to give herself a title shot if she wins this fight, because it's a former champ, and this weight class is this weight class is 115. It doesn't matter what weight class is this. I can't remember at the top of my head, but Mackenzie Dern's giving herself a title shot with this fight if she beats Jessica Andrade. Depends how she beats Jessica Andrade, because if this goes to decision, she's probably going to have to make 1 or 2 more fights, because we saw Jan finish her. We saw Suarez just absolutely dominate Jessica Andrade, and I think Tatiana Suarez is the next person that should be fighting next against Weili Zhang, who could give her the best fight and maybe even win. But that's for another day. And here we go. Probably my favorite fight of the card. Matt Frevola, the Steamroller, versus Benoit Saint Denis. This fight is on New York on Veterans Day, and you're thinking, if I'm not picking the veteran, thank you for your service, Steamroller. If you think I'm not picking him to win, not only it feels like I'm not picking him, it feels like I'm picking America. America versus a France. Nothing against France. France, I believe that he's in the army or the military in France. You think I'm not picking America on Veterans Day? I mean, that's just crazy right here. Matt Frevola, Steamroller, with 4 first round knockouts, 4 knockouts in a row. Matt Frevola with the win here. I mean, what more can I say? The guy's on fire. I think he's gonna, jump up in the standings, jump up in the rankings, and just keep going and going. This man, he's got that dog in him. Diego Lopez and Pat Sabintini. I'm saying it wrong probably, but I don't know too much about Pat, but I know he's a good grappler, also good at jiu-jitsu, what Diego Lopez is good at, but I'm picking my guy Diego Lopez. He's got that dog in him. Took his first UFC fight on short notice and almost won the dang fight, and then his second fight just absolutely dominates. And here, his third fight here is just going to win. That's why I'm winning. So here, I'm going to repeat my wins of who I'm winning in the main card. I got Diego Lopez over Pat Sabantini. I got the Steamroller over Benoit Saint Denis. I got Mackenzie Dern over Jessica Andrade. I got Sergey Pavlovich becoming the new vacant World Heavyweight champion of the world. And I have Alex Pereira, 2-division champion, the new light heavyweight champion of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching and listening to this. Comment down below who you think is going to win UFC 295. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We will have more content soon. Thank you so much. Peace.